The Unified School District of Pere holding a public meeting tonight on potential changes to its student safety program after messages relating to self-harm were flagged but not communicated to school officials. Those messages were identified by the district's current program with the help of AI. Now, according to the agenda, those in charge of communicating the possible risk to student safety failed to get that message to the school. The board now says it hopes to return to its previous program, a move it says will save money. Those we spoke with refused to answer direct questions, sticking to blanket statements in an effort to protect the students' privacy.
We felt that we needed to have a service improvement based off of current levels of what we were seeing reported to us. We wanted to have a higher quality level of reporting happening on the evenings and weekends, and making a change was necessary to receive that.
In the end, the board decided to approve the change. It's not yet clear when that system will go into effect.